So I just wanted to talk today about our belief systems. I think starting with what we grew up in and transitioning into how that's changed or not changed, and what our current beliefs are would be a good thing. I know the last time we talked about like magic and that sort of a thing, but I think it would be good to set kind of like a foundation. That way, I don't know. I just think moving forward for whoever happens to listen to all of this, it'll be a jumping off point. So, I know for me, I was raised in the Christian church. I'm in the South, so we were Baptist. That just seems to be what's on like every corner around here. And it's a my family was very conservative. That's not surprising. So it's like this very Christian, evangelical, conservative kind of a place that I came from. It's where, there's one God and uh Jesus died for all of our sins. And if you don't believe the right way, you're going to hell forever. I think a lot of people grew up that way. I'm not sure if that's the same for you.
Yeah, so my family, half of it is Italian. So I have Italian Catholic. And then and then the other half is I have a lot of family in like Oklahoma and like kind of the middle of, the South and stuff. And they're very like religious to the point of like women have to wear long skirts. They can't be showing their ankles. And the men have to like shave their necks so that the hair doesn't touch their collar. Like serious. And my and both of my parents are Catholic and or Christian, but we because I guess, because I grew up kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It wasn't like we had a church really close. And so I never ended up going to church much. I had a neighbor who, like some kids, friends they took me to Sunday school a few times, but Sunday school teacher asked if I could not be brought back because I asked too many questions.
How dare you?
Yeah, so I ended up I mean, I think I believed in God for a little bit when I was younger, like till like maybe 6. And then it was kind of like nope. I think really the thing that kind of pushed me away from any religion or religious beliefs were how the people made me feel. Every time I would go to a church or with a friend or something, and I felt so like bombarded by people coming over and being like, "Oh, are you coming next week and doing this and then coming and doing this?" And I'm like, it was too much for me. And so and then as I grew up, I just kind of I don't know, it just like unfortunately the people just always seemed very disingenuous and not very not not the way that they said like, oh, be kind, and but nobody was kind. And I just kind of being kind of an empath, I just kind of saw through a lot of that where they were like, oh, I'm such a good person, but then like these people felt so not good to me, and so I think made me just stay away from it as much as I could. And ended up I I think I got disowned by my father because I told him I was atheist. So that was fun. Which it didn't last forever. I wish it kind of had, but yeah, no, he disowned me and said you're not my daughter anymore. And
How old were you when that happened?
hmm 15, I think. But, at this point, I think around that time, they started kicking me out of the house and just being like, find somewhere else to sleep. And so luckily I had my aunt that used to be married to my uncle, like my blood uncle, my mom's brother, but she always let me come and stay, which was good because yeah, like I would have been on the streets pretty much. So
Yeah, no wonder you were so taken by how disingenuous they were, right? Your own family. Yeah, that's horrible. I know for me, like I always, I think, believed in God. Like once I got involved in the church, like I very much believed in God. I didn't want much to do with Jesus. I'm like, who needs that guy? I'm going to the top. Like I want the person in charge.
Cut out the middleman.
Pretty much. That was me. Very not Catholic, but um you know, it did come to a certain point where I think it was probably around 15. It was like early high school where it just got to be too much because there's so much like judgment and shame and you have to show up in this way in order to be accepted, even though like people at the church would tell you, well, it's not what you do that will save you. It's what you believe, but what you believe isn't what saves you either. And that
Yeah.
was one thing that I think was so pivotal to my experience as well growing up in that church is that I never felt saved. Like I never felt secure in the religion. And I think that is very much like a manipulation tactic. It's a tool that the church uses to keep everybody in line.
Yeah, it's kind of the point sometimes, I think, is it is to keep you in line. So I completely understand that. Yeah. I mean, that's what kept me away a lot, you know?
Yeah, especially being a woman, right? So growing up in the church.
Being taught that we're less than, and a lot of it, even a lot of that I grew around, that was a big part of it too, was, "Oh, you're to obey the man." I'm like, "No, that's not my personality. I don't think I could be in that, no."
So, but yeah, so it was around that time. I'm like, I can't participate in this anymore. Like, it's too painful of an experience for me because it just felt like a very personal attack at that point that I could no longer participate in.
So you were about 15, you said?
Yeah, I think so. I think I was about 15 when I made that decision for myself, but it's not something that told to anybody. And I don't think I actually left the beliefs of that behind until much, much later, actually. It was probably several years ago. It was not long before COVID, actually, where it's like I had gone through so much shit. I had like taken all of those beliefs because you have like capitalism and the patriarchy and all of this like nonsense that prepares you. And then you go out into the world and it prepares you for exploitation, right? Like it's just you give yourself away, you sacrifice for your own survival. And that's where things got to a breaking point with me. And it was like I just got completely disconnected and I really, really hated it. Um, and then like before COVID hit, I think I really needed a spiritual practice. Like I really missed that connection, but I could not just absolutely could not go back to Christianity. And so I was really forced to sit down and take a very hard look at what I actually believed instead of just going along with what had been handed to me my entire life. And that's like the turning point for me was like, I don't believe in a benevolent God who would send people to hell for all of eternity for not believing a particular way, right? And if you throw out heaven and hell, that's essentially the basis of Christianity in a lot of regards, at least in my opinion. So it was a lot, and one of the things like since then, because I've explored, and after I was like, no, no to Christianity. Like, I think it's such a real thing. I think a lot of people do. And I was like, let's try witchcraft.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and and that like what you were saying, I've had friends and I've been, because I think in this country you just Christianity is so like huge, and so I've had friends and I would go to the church because I wasn't, I was always kind of like, no, I don't believe in this and I don't want to even like do it because it gives me the creeps, and I went to the gosh, I can't even remember which war it was at this point. I must have been like high school, late high school. So I was probably like 18 or 19. And I went to a church in Oklahoma with my friend, and the whole sermon was about how God only loves our country and is going to destroy all of the people over there because they're evil. And it was too much for me. The hatred and the like disgust I got from it, I had to excuse myself and leave because I was just like, it hits me so wrong. So yeah, it really was. And for me, um I would probably attribute I mean it kind of came on said like when I had my daughter is when I really, and this was like 3 years before COVID. I decided that was when I kind of woke up to everything. I woke up to the fact that I had narcissistic parents and that I had been abused and that I had been the scapegoat my whole life. Like, because I believed that it was my fault, right? I believed all the stuff they said, that I was too sensitive and that I was the problem. And I believed all of that. And I just thought, I'm just this awful person that like until I had my daughter and then I realized, oh, like it's so easy to love a daughter. And like I saw them do the same things to her that they started to do to me, that they did to me. And I was like, I put my foot down. I was like, absolutely not. At Unfortunately, I was living with my parents at that time. And so we were in the same house. And then COVID came and they were being so unsafe in the beginning. Like they were going out and eating and they were just not being, and it was like, and honestly, I know this sounds crazy, but I really do believe that they were probably trying to get my husband because he has asthma. I think they were trying to get him sick with it because they knew that he would have less of a chance because, it's a really messed up scenario. But anyways, luckily, once we were able to get out of there, we moved across the country because I was like, I'm done. And I still kept in contact with my parents because going no contact with them was seriously like one of the hardest things in my life, even though I never wanted to talk to them and I broke down. So I got over like 3 or 4 years, I just started healing and started learning about all of this and started like doing all of the things. And it was like I got to this point where I decided that I had to feel all of the terrible feelings that I had been like repressing. And so I did. And it like shut me down to the point where I like could not get up. Like, I told my husband, you're going to have to step up because I can't do anything right now. And that was the point where I just couldn't pick up the phone when my parents called. I was done. I was like, I can't do this anymore, And at that point, Lisa Lee came on when I was scrolling through TikTok, right? And I had never really kind of followed anything spiritual. I didn't have any opinions either way, really. I kind of like tarot and stuff, but Lisa Lee came up and I had been braiding my hair because I had known that like you can do spell work with your hair. And I was like at the lowest point. I was like, I gotta do something. So I like started braiding my hair and doing like spell work into my hair. And then Lisa came on and she said that she was like, yeah, your guides say that that they've been doing spell work in their braids for like many generations. I was like, what? So I owe a lot to Lisa really in opening my eyes to all that spirituality. And then from that point, it just kind of has been this ride that we're on. And then I have my spiritual awakening and then everything falls apart.
Unfortunately, that seems to be the way it works. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. It's like everything has to fall apart before it can be built back up, but it sucks.
Well, I'm still waiting for the build back up part, but but I hope it comes.
It has to. At some point, things have to give. It's funny because I think a lot of my spiritual development as far as beliefs have happened with Lisa Lee and everything that's unfolded too. Because she talks a lot about a primal worldview and the ecosystem and all that kind of stuff. And that's kind of where I am. I think it's funny because in a lot of ways, I consider myself like monotheistic, which harkens back to like the whole Christianity aspect. To me, God is like the divine feminine, and people consider that like an aspect of God, but that to me is how I would actually define God. And so everything is a part of that. Like whatever beliefs or deities or energies or what have you, I don't think there's really a right or a wrong way because it's all part of the same thing. Um, and then after the spell work that we did, there was that point in time where I felt really close to the mother who is essentially like my idea of the divine feminine. At one point, I had the impression that the mother was my highest self, and not just my highest self, but everybody's highest self. Eddie talks about coherence a lot. And to me, like that divine feminine energy in that highest place is coherence. It's everybody operating coherently together. And so it gets really wonky when you think about time, but it's like you have this highest being working coherently, trying to move aspects like us, all these other energies towards that coherent place. And so you have all these different layers of where we are in that process of development.
Well, I have to, and you were talking about being monotheistic. I have to, because I had such a strong feeling towards Christianity and the terrible things that I had seen, and a lot of bad things are done in the church, and I just had crossed it off. So even today, I still have a hard time. I have to put the Christian God in a very small category, being the war god, right? And I think that the original God that, like, created the everything, I think that that is more closer to what you're talking about, the source and the divine feminine and masculine aspects. But I have to put the one that is being worshipped right now as this war god, because it is the horrendous things that have been done in the name of the religion is like, it makes me so ill.
It's terrible. There's so much incoherence, a lot of negativity around the beliefs that are prevalent in our society today when it comes to like what we produce and productivity being tied to value and discrimination. There's so much fear and hatred of things or people or anything really that's deemed different outside of the norm. But everything being the same, that doesn't make sense. It truly doesn't. And that's one of the things that really strikes me about this idea of the divine feminine. It's that one, you should probably respect other people and their differences, because if we're all part of the same being, all part of the whole, you're really at the end just harming yourself, pointing all that negativity at them. It's going to come back to hurt you.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think that things have gotten so bad. There's so much hatred and bigotry that we're dealing with. We don't have an option but to change. We're just at that point. And I don't know, maybe I'm just super hopeful, but I think we're at this turning point, right? I think more and more people are waking up to the actual harm that is being caused by these beliefs.
Well, and kind of going back to something you were saying earlier, I think that it is all part of a bigger plan. Even COVID was the big awakener for a lot of people, because everybody was stuck inside and by themselves. And so, yeah, like, the same, like you were saying, I went into witchcraft after all of this stuff. And even, I mean, like, for me, I do believe that the divine feminine is kind of waking up and coming back more in which is, I think she's been suppressed because for so many reasons. I think, and the patriarchy and all of these systems that are unnatural. They're not the way that it's supposed to be. And and so I do believe that she's waking up. I crave to work with the divine feminine. And honestly, I really don't want to have much to do with any like masculine energy. And I know that's silly and but I don't. I'm like I don't want to work with gods. I only want to work with goddesses. I don't, and it's like it's a pendulum, right? It had swung so far into only the male, only the masculine, and I'm like no, because like men, why are men, like I want to swing back. So, so that's for me.
But it's funny because the way that I believe, like all the energies, even like emotions and stuff to me are aspects of the divine feminine. And you yourself are an empath. So I think that's funny.
Yeah, I'm like, nope, no, I don't want to have anything to do with that. But I think I have a unique position too, because I am what they call an elder millennial, or I guess the term now is geriatric millennial, which I do not like very much. But I was born in 83, so I'm like in the beginning. So I feel like I had a lot of the programming that I never really questioned it either, right? Women need to get married and you need to have kids, and then and I think waking up to it, it's I don't know. And so late in life, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but it's so late in life that I'm just so done with it. I am ready for this other side to come, because it's all falling down. And like you said, I'm hopeful too. I think that everything is going to turn out better. And I know that it has to be this bad in order for everybody to see it. And I feel like it's hard that it surprised me that there's still people with their blinders on right now. How do you not see how disgusting this is? Even just like everybody going, I still have conversations with people who are like, they don't think that food and shelter and water should be a basic human right. And I'm looking at these people now and I'm like, what? They're like, you should have to work for it. I'm like, why? Why should you have to work for something? You did not choose to be born onto this planet. There is an abundance of all of those things. Why can we not give those to people for free?
They
And
had
I
to
just,
work for it.
huh?
So because they had to work for it.
Yeah, and it's it's programming and stuff, and I get that it's really hard. The longer you've been in it, the harder it is to unwind. But I just don't understand anymore, and I'm ready for everybody to catch up with that, because because I'm ready to live in a world where I feel like we could progress so much as a species, as a society. We could have cured cancer, but because it's not profitable to cure cancer, they treat it so they can get that money too. It's just
Yeah, it goes back to like obedience to compliance. And because you can only show up in this very narrow way, it really stifles creativity and personal expression. And people, at least in my experience, are so afraid to be themselves because of the potential impact it could have on being ostracized, right, from society. And so you have everybody showing up in this very specific way, and it stifles creativity. And it's gotten to the point where people are so burnt out and exhausted just from trying to survive, which isn't how we should be existing. I don't think. I agree with you. I think we have food, shelter, like all of these things that healthcare that should be basic human rights. And I have had similar conversations with my family who are like, yeah, I think housing should be a basic human right. But then you talk through the logistics of that with them, and they're so afraid that in order to help other people, they're going to have things taken from them. And so they hold on so tightly, but it doesn't have to be that way. Just because we're helping other people doesn't mean we have to give up our own life and our own securities and these kinds of things. And that's where, like, all of the hoarding of wealth and resources and that kind of thing really, to me, is quite criminal when you have people who have so much and could do so much good in this world who just refuse to because of what? It doesn't even make sense.
I mean, take the big beautiful bill for instance, right? I was watching something where some guy was like, "Yeah, I have a friend who has millions, like tens to hundreds. I don't know what they were saying, but how this whole big beautiful bill thing is gonna make them like $5 million." And the way that he was talking about it was that, like, it was couch change. Like, oh, found some extra money, but that $5 million is taking food out of children's, like, their lunches that they have at school. It's taking healthcare away from people. It's taking food away from people that, and I see it all so clearly. I know that that is the point, right? Is that, oh, and then people are going to start stealing for their food to save. Of course they're going to steal food to save, to feed their children, because of course they are, or to do themselves or to feed themselves and stuff. And that's what they want, because then they want to get funneled. They want people to be funneled into the prison system, which, don't even get me started on,
Slave labor.
so exactly. And for profit prisons, like, really, it's really upsetting. But I do think that them bringing all of this out, them kind of making this open to everybody, is making people see. It goes back to, we outnumber them. We are the 99%. If we get together and we say no to this, there's nothing that they can do about that. And and so we're just in this crazy time right now where we're having to get to that point.
And that's one of the things that I really struggle with because I look out and I see like how much we could do together, but it's the question then becomes, well, how do we do that? How do we organize? How do we help each other out? How do we connect? For me, it's been very, very difficult. I have actually gone back into the church. Uh, which I don't particularly care for. Like, I don't like being back in the church with the toxic messages. 2 Sundays ago, I got to listen to a Fourth of July sermon about like salvation and freedom and like praise the state of Israel. I'm just like,
You can't,
I
yeah.
can't, but whatever works for you. But it's in an attempt to connect to people and kind of use the structure and the resources of the church to get more connected into community and see what I can do as far as like community care and that sort of thing. And I just wish that there were so many more avenues to do that because I think together, like you said, we could do so much good because there are so many of us. And I think more and more people are waking up and seeing the truth and want to do good. I think a lot of people just don't know how. I sure don't know how.
And I think that we're at the kind of the head of that frontier right now. Because I know exactly what you mean, and I do think our groups and like getting this going is really hard, because I do think that community is so important, and it sorry about that. It was that community is where we need to go, and that's where they have where Christian and that kind of, they have the churches and they have the stuff, and that is what we need, but we need it without the
Toxic messaging.
toxic stuff. Just take that out, and so I wish that there was more covens that we could join, and that there's more spiritual groups that we could join and stuff. And right now, like, I'm very grateful to have found you guys on the internet, even, and it's, little steps on trying to, because it is hard to get back, because even though I say I know and I want community, I'm still a little like weary of my neighbors because I've got two Trump neighbors. I'm in Massachusetts and I have two Trump neighbors just across, like right next to us, and it's hard to know who to trust, and it's hard to be able to actually put your trust into people because we have been burned so much. And you were talking earlier about we, like trying to fit into these things, and I've never been good at fitting in to groups. I've really not been, and I've tried, so it's hard.
It is really hard, but I've gotten to the point where I'm like, screw it. It's not worth it. It trying to fit in has legitimately cost me who I am. And so I'm at a point in time where I'm trying to undo all of that damage and learning how to show up authentically after never having been allowed to is it's hard. It's not fun. It
Well,
really
yeah,
isn't.
I was never good at masking, really. I mean, I did mask all the time because I learned very early in life that being who I was not acceptable. Um, but I was never even good at masking. And like that was like a genuine thing for growing up. I was always mad at myself because I'm like, why can't you seem to fit in, you know? And so it just I ended up, I think for me, I just ended up giving up. And it was me, and I had a few friends that I luckily, were really close with, but I just kind of faded into the background for most of my life. And then trying to like undo that and become who you are, authentic, which, I was never given the chance to like figure out who I was, so it's like trying to figure out who you are and come into community unmasked is it's a wild ride.
It really is. And like for me, I feel like I'm so bad at it. I am truly terrible when it comes to community. I'm like still trying to figure out how to show up in a way that works for me. It's so hard when, like you said, you're trying to figure out who you are. Um, I'm pretty fortunate. I feel like I know pretty well who I am. It's just a matter of showing up and showing that to other people because of the trauma, because of the history, because of all of that. It's a very difficult thing. And then just trying to figure out how to communicate because I've been isolated, I think, like you mentioned, for so long. It's that fading into the background and learning how to be an active participant in my life.
Be the main character. Yeah, be the main character in your own life, right?
But we'll get there. And I think that's one of the things that I love about all of this and about doing the podcast with you. It's like, hey, now I get to show up and now I get to practice. Um, I get to kind of work through all of this stuff, hopefully, because I can't help but feel like there's something coming. Something is going to be happening, and things are going to, I think, get pretty bad. And I think we're all being prepared for it. I think we're all going through something now so that when that time comes, we're capable and able to deal with it.
Well, yeah, like this energy that we're going through right now too. We keep talking about it because it's so heavy, and it was Lisa Lee likened it to, birth, and I was like, yeah, that's what it feels like to me. That And I think I was telling you, it feels like that, and anticipatory, like I want to be over with this so bad because I can't stand the energy anymore. It's so I'm hoping that'll break soon, but it didn't break this morning, that's for sure.
I think astrologically, there's supposed to be another big transit. Like there's supposed to be a lot of stuff going on, and I think it's supposed to culminate around September 1st. So I think we might have a
So we
little.
have a couple
I think
weeks
so.
of this.
And I think part of this process for me and what I felt is it's like a squeezing, like the birthing process of moving us into that new energy. So
Yes.
I, I'm with you. Like I need good things.
Yeah. It's what, Uranus, or however you want to say that, into Gemini right now. So it's all about it's all about that community, and it's about communication and all that hard stuff. Is that where do you know where how is that affecting your natal
Well,
chart?
I have Gemini in my second house. So, um, for me, a lot of the stuff comes back to like career stuff because I was laid off of work. And for me, just trying to figure out what I want to do because I know I want to be involved in community and I want to help and I want to do these things, but I don't see clearly how to go about it, especially in a way that provides. I've really had to take provision off of the table in my interactions with community and just say like how can I be involved, like how can I show up, how do I want to show up, kind of a thing, because
Yeah.
trying to get like paid and financial stuff tied to it right now it's just way too much pressure. I'd much rather have fun because I've put off looking for a job for as long as I can, and at some point if the house doesn't sell I'm gonna have to, I'm not gonna have a choice. I told them, I told Spirit, I'm like, you have through August.
Yeah.
So I really think come September, we're going to see things change. But yeah, so that's a lot of the stuff that I've been working through is career and community. And I really want clarity around it. And that's one of the things we were talking about, where it's like, it'll come when it comes. It's like, okay, what, uh, you have my finances. I gave those over to you when we did that spell. Like, you get to worry about that.
I think I have a big return coming up this next year or something. I don't remember.
Your Saturn return?
Maybe, but maybe not. I don't know. I feel like it's like my 11th like astrological number year or something. It's supposed to be good, I guess, but that comes in September too. That's my birth month. So September. And for me, I have my Gemini in the 7th house, which is family and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know what that means yet. The clarity is not there. I also have my Chiron in Gemini, which is fun. So I know, and I've known a long time that my voice and getting my thoughts and my communication out there is important for me, and so it, I don't know. I don't have the clarity yet though, and I'm waiting for that. So hopefully everything will.
Shrouded in mystery on purpose. I don't think we're supposed to see quite yet.
I want to know.
I know. I know. And I think that goes back to it for me because I would really just like some certainty. They're like, no.
That's how I feel all the time when I'm asking my guide stuff. I'm like, can you let me know? They're like, no, no, you can't. Sorry.
Yeah. And it's funny because there are some things where I'd really like to ask, but I just know I'm not going to get the answer. So I'm like, I don't even bother.
I don't know. My brain is so scattered today.
It's been all week. My brain has felt like it's been in a fog. You guys have talked a lot about exhaustion, and mine has very much been like a mental exhaustion. It's like I can't think. I'm here and I can exist and I can do things, but I can't think.
Yeah. I've been hella dissociating completely. Like I mean, but I haven't been sleeping really well since all this energy dropped, and I just tossing and turning all night, and I like got up at like 6 and I was just I can't anymore. But yeah, it's physical exhaustion but also like mental fog, and it's all just needs to end. But yeah, and we're all having the it's been a lot of I think tension in the house, especially between my daughter and her grandmother, my mother-in-law. They've been going at it really crazy, and it's hard to try to gentle parent to both generations.
Especially when one generation has some very particular views about how you should raise your children.
Oh my gosh, I know. It's trying to get that mindset of kids are people.
What?
I know.
That's a foreign concept, Casey.
I know, right? I know that they're like have feelings, and they're like, don't talk like work with them. And that's such a hard concept. And I don't know. It feels so like my hands are tied most of the time, I can't really, because we're staying with my mother-in-law right now because everything is just on its head. So it's like when it's hard to be like, well, maybe you could be a little like more open, and because I'm also don't want to like teach my kid lessons that they don't deserve to have people respecting their opinions and stuff as well. So it's hard. Everything's so hard right now, and everybody's like grumpy, and I'm grumpy, and like, no, just let me, like, and then, but that's where I'm stuck to. I just can't seem to find what to do with myself either. I don't want to do anything, but I want to do something. I want to do something, but I'm like, everything that I have to do, I don't want to do. So,
Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of how I feel. It's like I'll try something and we'll see how it goes. And it may pan out or it may not. But it's very much like Lisa Lee was talking about, that lost at sea feeling, right? Not knowing which direction to go in. And with all of this stuff that's been going on, the energy and just the exhaustion and not wanting to really go anywhere too is another big challenge.
100% lost at sea. Like that's what it feels like too. And it's like that on like on top of having decision fatigue, because you're so tired of having to choose things that you're like, I don't have any frame of reference on which way is shore. I'm in the middle of the ocean and it's the middle of the night and I don't know how to read star charts and I don't know where I'm at and like, where do I go? So but I guess that's like I don't know, my guides are kind of trying to get me. They keep telling me to rest and to kind of lean into that. And I'm like, but how? How do you lean in to what? To making a decision and going? Like, I mean, I guess you have to eventually, right? But
things always change. They're not going to stay the same. And if you're in a place of exhaustion, I know what I'm about to say is not easy to do, but like try to put your worry aside and just take the time and do what feels right for you. And I think that truly at the right time, it'll be made clear, because that's one of the things I'm working with the mother. It's like my perspective on this is they know who I am. They know what the path forward is, and they know what it's going to take to get me there. And because of the way that they work through time, that they've been working in the past already. Like we're already making that movement forward. So theoretically, we shouldn't have to worry. I know that's very hard not to
well,
do.
no, it's funny you say that too, because you missed our movie, get together was Lord of the Rings, and Lisa had said something about like how that's how she views our spirit guides, is like we're the little hobbits and they're like these badass swordsmen that are like doing everything. They're like, it's okay, little hobbit, we'll get you there, So that kind of seems to go in hand with that. And I want to do that too. It's just like, I think I'm getting frustrated with myself because I would love to do what I enjoy, but I'm like, I'm not knowing what that is right now. But honestly, this podcast with you is one of the things I really look forward to. And just so we can have something to talk about and like talk about all of these things that have happened to us and how we got there, and maybe kind of make it more clear for me, even understanding my own journey. So definitely I appreciate you for getting this together, because this is definitely something that I find fun and passion and stuff in. So
I was very nervous to put it out there because I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen with it. Like, I really don't. But at the end of the day, if we can talk and have conversations and have fun doing it, then it doesn't really matter what happens with it because we're
exactly.
having fun and enjoying ourselves anyway.
Take your own advice. Don't worry about it. Just kind of let it go and have fun, right? I mean, that's always what I hear in the spiritual communities is follow your joy, follow, your passions and stuff. And I get frustrated with myself because I'm like, what are my passions? But yeah, I know setting down the worry is hard though. I don't know exactly if I know how to do that yet, but I'm trying.
Yeah, trust. Yeah, you're being told to follow your joy. And then for me lately, one of the things I've had to work through is like following my intuition, and the things that my intuition tells me to do not seem like the things that are going to bring me joy. And it has brought me so much heartache and anger. And it's been like, oh my gosh, it's a really trust the process kind of a thing.
And it's like then it's like, wait, you want me to trust my intuition now when this is what it's bringing me?
I don't know. Uh, I I don't think I'm very good at like tarot and that kind of stuff, but I love to pull cards. And one of the cards I pulled yesterday was it was trust in God. It was like the shaman, it was trust in the universe that it'll bring you there. And I'm like, you have some audacity telling me that right now.
Oh my gosh. There is this one TikTok woman that I just absolutely love, and I can't remember her name. It's like Ryan, or she has like pink hair, but she does these skits where she's always kind of like talking to the universe, and like the universe is like, what, it's always like, wait, you want me to trust you now? Like, you just sent me that person that you're gonna take away, and you want to trust? Yeah, go away. I'm like, half the time I feel like that. I'm like, yeah, I'm trusting you, and things are not going how I want them to go. So,
It's terrible. And I do think it'll all work out. I do have like a lot of trust when it comes to that kind of stuff. It's just a hard time. And that's one of the things too that I actually really love about like my spiritual practice is because when all this stuff was happening Sunday, like I legitimately lost my shit on Sunday after Lola had her seizure. I was not in a good place. And I was like legit just yelling at the mother. I was just like, I've had enough. I was telling them all the stuff, like everything that I'm so sick and tired of, legitimately like yelling at them, not happy. And then it's funny because then Lisa Lee was talking about screaming with the mother. And I'm like, I don't know if I was doing it with or at, but
no, I think that is so healthy and good too. And I've had that. I think I've even talked to like Lisa that it's good. I think even our guides sometimes like to see that. It's a little bit of fire, and they're like, yeah, yell at me about it. And cuz I was telling her too, it's like when I go into when I get triggered into fight or flight, with men, I always go into fight. I'm always like, that doesn't seem like the best choice, but she was like, no, she's like, sometimes with the energies that you're dealing with, that is the only way that they'll respond when you just, when you're like so angry and stuff. And I think that that's a part that I think many women need to learn to because we're told, oh, you're so hysterical and emotional, and we're told to keep our anger down, even though men, that is the only emotion that they ever seem to be throwing out there. And I think that it is 100% part of the divine feminine, that divine feminine rage. It gets things done.
when I came out to my family about like not being Christian anymore, which was just this year, like even though I haven't participated in that for quite a while, like it's not something I've ever shared with them because of how strong their religious views are. Like it's bad in my family that way. And but the way that that was received, and literally the only words that I got out was, I'm not a Christian. Those were the only words I was able to say before the conversation got shut down because I had to protect the kids. The kids couldn't hear that there was any other option. Like, that's not a thing. And so that made me angry. And I ended up walking out of the house, and my mom and my brother followed me. And my brother, he told me, he said, stop acting like a child and control your emotions. And I laid into him. It's like, that is the last thing he should have said to me if he was trying to calm me down. Because I have worked so hard over the past year and a half to reclaim my emotions. Like, I was in a period of absolute disconnect for probably like 7 or 8 years. And so, reconnecting with those, like, I treasure that, even the shitty ones, like, I just have a very different relationship with my emotions now because of that period. And then for him to say, "You're wrong for having them," I'm like, "Screw you. I'm gonna
No.
tell you the hard truth and the difficult truth." And quite honestly, I think the things that I had to say to him really hit home because afterwards he wanted an apology from me, but he wanted an apology from me for my anger, is what he said. But I think it was because he couldn't admit that what I said was true, because then what I said about him and the way he is acting with his kids and controlling them and their beliefs, like if he said that he needed an apology for me saying what I did in front of his kids, he'd have to admit that I was right.
Yep. Well, and I have a very unique relationship with my anger because of course I got so angry because of like a lot of things that I went through growing up, being the scapegoat and but my family liked to do this thing called reactive abuse where they would do something to get me riled up. And then as soon as I got pissed, it was they would cameras out or see, you're the problem. Look at you and you're too sensitive and you're too angry. And so it was like anytime I had these correct feelings of anger and the things that, I was immediately made to feel like I was the problem for all of it. I think that, and it's a big reason why I have a lot of problems with confrontation too, even like little things that I have to talk to about people when I'm like standing up for myself. I'm literally like shaking, but it's hard. It's so hard, but it's been good that I've been working on doing that and stuff. And of course I still run from confrontation every now and then because I'm like I just can't. I don't want to go there and but yeah, it's very important. And now that I've been accepting it, and honestly I've been accepting that part of my like that anger and that part of myself more, it's been so freeing too because there's things that like these circle arguments that I have even with my husband and stuff. Like I got to this point where I'm like, your side, like what you're saying right now, it does not matter like anymore because all I'm asking for is to be for my feelings and to be taken into consideration, and that is not a bad thing. And so it's like, and I don't know, I've let go of a lot of like how I should be, and all of a sudden kind of just waking up to going, yeah, like this is all I'm asking for, and that's I deserve that. And so I think I'm getting into a better rhythm with my anger, but I definitely know what you mean. I know.
That's exciting. It's so hard, especially when you have a history of that kind of stuff and feel like all of what you've experienced has been invalidated, like coming to a point where you can actually express from that authentic place, especially those quote unquote negative emotions that people really frown upon because they want everybody compliant and happy and, you know,
Pretending, right?
well, exactly. It's all pretend in that way if you can only show up in that certain way. Um, that's really hard to do. So the fact that you're doing it is fantastic.
I'm really proud of you too, though. I mean, I know that like sticking up for yourself and actually having that anger, that it's really good. And I hope you feel like proud of yourself for that moment because you kind of saw behind what, because a lot of times we get caught up in like what he was saying is like, look what you're not supposed to be doing this to the children. You're like, no, 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 no. Like, let's look at the real problem here.
Well, that's the family that I grew up in. My family had a running joke when I was growing up that everything was my fault. And it's like now as an adult, it's like, I don't really think that was a joke. That wasn't very funny.
Hey, scapegoat sisters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. And I think that was one of the things that was really complicated about my family. It's because like I always felt like there was a lot of love, but the things that they were doing didn't line up with that love. And so there was this disconnect, and it's a lot to deal with. Coming to terms with that is such a difficult thing to do. And even now, like recognizing that they did have love for me, it just wasn't really what I deserved or what I needed at that point in time. It's a hard thing.
I mean, this stuff goes back so many generations. This and it's an evil. It's almost like its own living little entity goes back in families for so long. And they're absolutely, I mean, and definitely I believe that your family does love you and could still carry this toxic thing because it happens, it gets passed down and it gets passed down. And even like physically too, like the abuse that I was experiencing when I was pregnant with my daughter will be felt by any children that she has, because when I was pregnant she had all of the eggs that she will ever have, and it does physically transfer, so it's this hard thing to get out of families, and everybody's situation is different. My family, I did learn that my parents don't love me, and it because they can't, because it is a mental disease, or honestly how Lisa describes narcissists as being the people that have gone and that are being manipulated or worked through by these disgusting non-ascended ancestors or whatever. I totally believe that, because I don't know, it's just sometimes the evil is just crazy. But yeah, and like I don't, and even them though, I'm not without compassion for what my parents went through. They had terrible childhood, and so did my grandparents, and I know that it goes on, and I can have empathy for them. But I think for me, for my situation, what I had to come to terms with was that it would never change. That they could not change that. And no matter what I said, and no matter how I changed or whatever, I had to either, I came to a choice where it was either you go no contact or you continue to abandon yourself for the rest of your life. And I couldn't anymore. And as awful as it is, and I tell you, I'll still to this day, I have thoughts of, how much I miss my mom, but I miss the people that they aren't, people that they will never be, and so it's so much better to be able to love love myself, and I couldn't do that when I was with them because they would not have let me. But like I said, this thing goes through families, and I do believe that there are like I know that my grandparents loved my parents, but they were toxic and they had issues, and so it's just there's so many different scenarios, and it could have gone either way. It could have. We all make a choice, I guess.
And I think that's one of the really important things about what you've done and what I've done. It's working through these ancestral patterns so we don't continue to repeat them because we have seen the harm that they do. And it's not about placing blame on our parents because, like you, I completely agree. It's this ancestral thing that's been passed down from generation to generation. I can see it in my own family. It's just I'm not willing to participate in things in that same way. So I have to show up different. And unfortunately, they're not on the same page. And I think that's where a lot of tension comes in. And you had to completely disconnect from your family in order to make that change for you, which is incredibly brave.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't even feel like it was brave. It was like no choice for me. The harder part is like, and I knew that I would probably have to do that eventually with them once I've learned everything. The hard part though is and it's not even. I mean, I knew that when I was going to go no contact, that I knew that it was very likely that I would lose my entire family. My sister, my cousins, my nieces and nephews, my aunts and uncles, and everybody. And I knew that that was a possibility, and that is what came to to fruition, is that I have lost, and my sister hurt because she had the golden child. She was the golden child, but also she had a little, like, I could see it sometimes where she saw what was happening and was like, knew that it was wrong. So it was like, I could have, she could have gone either way, but she ended up going with them. And I know that they're telling, you know, they're getting all of their needs of their, you know, their narcissistic supply from telling everybody how awful I am, and ruining, and, you know, and like how, who knows what they're saying. And you just, I had to be okay with being the villain in so many's life, and in so many people's life. And I think that was a really hard part for me, was learning. It was because I had been villainized, but also like you're the bad guy, but you don't get to pout because it's like your fault, you know. So like I've had that so long, and I just always knew it wasn't true. And so I spent all of my youth growing up trying to convince people that I was not the bad guy, that I was a good person, you know, and having to let that go and just being like, yeah, like, if you see me as the bad guy, that there's nothing that I can do to change that. If you don't see who I really am, then there's nothing, you have already decided, and there's nothing that I could ever say to have to make your mind different. And then, you know, learning that they knew what was going on. So for them to admit that I'm not the bad guy, they would also have to take culpability in not doing what they could have to stop it. So that's how these toxic patterns continue to repeat, though.
There's no way being in that way that they're ever going to want to take responsibility and be accountable to what they participated in, especially when it's so easy to blame you and you can't even say anything at this point because you're not around.
Ugh.
So,
You know, and that's what I keep telling myself too, and it's coming true. It was like, I don't feel seen by any of these people, and I never will. And so as hard as it was to like seriously cut everybody out, like, and at this point I didn't have friends, so it was like my entire life went from a pretty big Italian Catholic family down to me, my husband, and my daughter. And that was it. And it's so much better though. And I get to have, and I am so grateful, because I would have never met you guys, and I would have never gotten to community with people that actually do see me like clearer than anybody else would see me in my family, you know. So as hard as it is, and you know, and that I don't think I would change any of it, because it has led me into the good things in my life too, you know?
well, and you're protecting your daughter too, so she doesn't have to go through at least those like physical experiences that you did.
Which is, I mean, yeah, I always say, I feel bad for bringing her into such a world, but I really do believe that I had a soul contract with her, because she was the reason I woke up, you know, because they were like, oh, you know, it was always, you're going to have a daughter and she'll be just like you, and then you'll see how awful you are, you know. And then it was like, I had a daughter and she was just like me. And I was like, wait a second, like, she is the easiest thing to love in the entire world. And then they tried to start like, they started to try to get my daughter even on their side, like say little things about me bad, and I shut it down so quick. And or yeah, or no, what was it? First it was, they were trying to like make, like, prep her to be the next scapegoat. Oh, this is, you're being too sensitive like your mom and stuff. And that's when I shut it down. I was like, absolutely not, you are not doing that, that is not gonna happen. And so then that's when they started to try to like get my daughter on my little toddler daughter, being like, your mommy is so mean, or whatever they would say to her, you know. And it was like, that was when I was like, you know what, this is so done. And so I'm even thankful for that, because it made me just see so clearly. And it was sad that I couldn't see it about myself, but I definitely could see it about my daughter. So, but like I said, I'm so thankful, because I did get connected with you guys, and even though I don't, it's hard getting into community and stuff. I think kind of we're all going through a lot of similar things, and it's kind of nice to have some people to go through it with.
Yeah, we definitely are. It seems going through some similar themes, even if they show up in different ways.
Yeah.
And it is nice to have other people to talk to and reach out to and well, work through some of this stuff together.
What our little collective is, right?
Yeah.
I always think about I like and I feel like it's my Rome. You know how they like the men's Rome where they think about it like once a day or whatever. I feel like mine is I always think about what Lisa said about our collective and being this little school of fish, and how the mother gave her that channel where where the whale comes and just swallows the school of fish up, and we're all scared and like, oh my gosh, what's happening, we just got swallowed by a whale, but it's like moving us into calmer waters where it's gonna like let us go again. And I kind of like I seriously think about that daily. I kind of feel like that's where we're at, even though we feel like frightened and it's so heavy because we've just been swallowed by this giant whale. I think it's taking us into calmer waters.
Yeah. Is that why it's so dark? We're in the mouth of the whale and we can't see anything. It's so dark.
It's so dark here too, though. What? That's crazy. Yeah, I think so, though. Like, I mean, that it always keeps popping into my head. I'm like, yeah, that it really is how it feels.
Talk about an exercise in trust. It's been a hard road, so but there's not really much choice except to move through it. It'll be what it'll be. And that's one of the other things with the mother and everything. And I think the way that they work, it's I don't have any control over any of this stuff. So, and even like the thoughts and the inspiration and all that kind of stuff, I don't have any control over it. And I think maybe that's where some of the brain fog comes in. It's like, why you're trying so hard for something it's not its time yet. So, but yeah, a lot of it comes back to trust.
Yeah, well, and in our defense, we've had a lot of situations that have made us very weary of that trust, we didn't come out as little kids not trusting, and we've had many experiences where it was like, no, you can't trust. But I think that's more about starting to be in this spiritual path and being in resonance, and
Yeah. And that's been a big thing too, is working with my intuition and following my intuition because growing up, like I always outsourced my trust. Like, and that was the big thing with the church. I have parents who are supposed to love and care and they're supposed to know all this stuff. So of course I'm going to listen to them because they're supposed to know better, right? Well, no, they don't know better. But that's where that whole self-abandoning thing comes in. And now it's a time where it's like I have to follow my intuition, even though it doesn't look like the thing that I want it to. Because if I don't, then I'm just abandoning myself all over again. And that's where the trust, it has to be reappropriated. So it's not trusting the things outside of me, but it's about trusting myself, my intuition, and my connection to the divine and the divine feminine.
can I ask, do you have any practices of strengthening or like how you listen to your intuition? Like,
This is so chaotic. It's really because I have a very hard time like sticking to anything consistently.
mm,
um, so for me, it's like a daily practice. Like I'm constantly in conversation, and if I'm able to like pause and check in with myself, and even the intuition stuff, it has kind of unfolded over time. It's like the way that my guides work with me, it's like they'll start talking about something for a little while. And then if it's something I don't like, I fight it. And we had the same conversation for a while until it gets to this breaking point where it's like, I have to go with them and with my intuition and that kind of stuff.
that's hard though.
It's hard. It's a fight, but it's a way for me to like learn how to tune in. And a lot of that I think comes from trial and error, actually. It's having to figure out what that voice actually well, for me, it's not a sound, it's a feeling. Like, it
Mm.
feels a certain way for me. Learning what that feeling is, learning how to move in that direction. Because, like I said, the things that it's been asking of me lately are things that I really don't want to do because I see our group and I'm like, I have so much love and I have so much appreciation and I want to participate and I want to communicate and grow. But regardless, I have to take a step back. I literally don't have a choice in all of this stuff. And it's just funny the way that it all has unfolded. But it's definitely been a learning experience for me. And I think slowing down and taking time to pause and check in with myself and doing that consistently along with the regular communication with spirit is something that makes up the majority of my practice, to be quite honest.
Yeah. I mean, and it's not a bad practice either. I like even just doing that. I mean, for me, because I kind of feel like I'm in the same boat. I definitely think there's room for improvement for my intuition, and my intuition is spot on when it comes to dangerous people. Like, so that's always, but it's what's hard for me is the mundane choices and the like the little choices, and I'm like, how do I listen? I don't, how do I find the feeling? Because it's and it that's the frustrating thing, is that it's just different for every person, right? And so there's no, oh, this is how you do it. I'm like, sometimes it's so hard, and I honestly, for me, I've really leaned into the emotional aspect of it, because I know that I've really been working a lot with emotions, and working with kind of getting I to understand that more. So that's how I've been asking my guides to kind of help me with. I'm like, send me emotions, because that I can get. And yeah, on the 4th, my daughter wanted to go to the carnival. I think I was telling you guys, and it was terrible. I have not been, I mean, just as far as energies go, I haven't been in that big of a crowd since COVID, and it was like the amount of people's energies, because I've been working on shielding myself, and not and I there was no I couldn't shield myself. It was just like bombarded with it all. I was like, I think it took me like 2 days to recover from that. So I don't know, I'm always looking for interesting ways to, but I guess it's just to like get my intuition running smoother. But I guess it's just kind of that quiet paying attention to how you feel and stuff.
Well, and I find that make itself known. And I think working with your emotions is a really cool thing to do too. That's another thing that I love to do. Um, and I'm in the same boat. Like when it comes to these big things, like the big things for whatever reason feel so much easier than those tiny moments. But I am such a believer in those tiny moments holding so much and so much weight because there have been so many times where it's for what feels like a very small decision in a moment that could have easily passed by ends up making such a big difference.
I will try as well. It's like, I don't know. It's always that second guessing, you know?
Yeah. Well, and that's where all this stuff to me, it's a practice. And it's not about getting it right. It's just about participating in it. And things evolve and they take shape as you continue to work with them. So working with your emotions, if that's what it feels right and feels comfortable for you, I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's been the most successful so far. So I'm sure, that's it. It's just, yeah. And like, honestly, I don't know about you, but this energy has just kind of kept me like not even doing anything. I haven't even been like trying to like communicate that much, and I'm just, searching for the end of it, I think.
Yeah, I'm very much the same way. And it gets difficult for me because, like, this past week has been like so heavy and so, like, really kind of just miserable. Like, I haven't wanted to do anything either. And at the same time, like, I feel like I need to be doing something, I need to be participating, I need to, like, I just feel like I need to do things, and I don't even know that it's maybe it is, maybe in part it's that whole notion of productivity and that sort of a thing, but it's also like I want to get out there and I want to be involved and I want to have a life that is a lot fuller than what it currently looks like. And I'm not going to get there if I don't start doing these things. But at the same time, it's like I have, especially this week, I haven't been able to bring myself to do any of it. And it's like, oh my gosh, all of this tension, the pushing, the pulling, like it's
And can I ask, how has it been going with the church? Has that been feeling like kind of scratching the itch that you need of having the physical community and stuff, or
not yet. I've only gone like the past 2 weeks, so it's still relatively new. And there was this really tiny church that I had visited back at the beginning of March before March hit and was shit. I hated March. Um, and so the first Sunday I went back there, they're so absolutely tiny. They don't really do a whole lot of community outreach, but the way they interact with themselves is to me was a very beautiful example of community when I was back there in March. They're the ones who had that whole salvation doctrine, like Israel and freedom sermon a couple of Sundays ago. So I'm kind of like, eh. Um, the last Sunday, I went to a larger church because I grew up in a very large church, and it was probably like a mega church. It was huge. And this one isn't that big, but it is a larger church. And I went, and it felt so incredibly familiar to what I grew up in. And I don't know that that's a bad thing, but it's kind of a freaky thing. And they have like a separate thing that they do. They call it a growth track where you can try and get more involved in like the community stuff. And I missed it because I didn't know anything about it. I went to go find out about like their small groups and community outreach and that sort of a thing. So hopefully this Sunday I'll be able to participate in that and get a little bit more information. And because they have the growth track and then they have small groups, and the small groups are out for summer. They're not coming back until the fall, so probably August when the kids are back in school.
hmm,
So we'll
the
see. At
deadline?
any rate, it gets me out of the house.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm glad that it's fulfilling the needs you, or hopefully fulfilling the needs you need a little bit.
I just, it's it's a lot. Like I said, I just want so much more in my life, and I think especially not working right now, it's like I have so much time and there's so much emptiness. I'm like, let's fill it. Like, let's fill it with people.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's odd. I just always think it's kind of like the parallels between our lives and stuff, and all of our groups. It kind of always is interesting that it kind of feels very similar and stuff, but yeah, we're just stuck in this like, I want to be doing something, I want to be feeling, and like that's how I feel too. It's like I want to be doing something, but it's not going back to some, job that I hate and I can't stand with all of my life, and I think that's my soul saying, yeah, like don't like that. Like the reason it feels like death is because for your soul it is death. It's not what you need to be doing, but then it's like, what do I do? And it's like, oh wait, and I'm like, I know, but I'm bored of waiting. I'm done. I want to start having my life fulfilled. But I think in a lot of aspects the world is just too crazy to be beginning the things that are really going to be taking shape in our lives after everything starts getting better. I think when we're rebuilding, and that's what we're going to be kind of getting into, and I've I don't even know who said it or where I heard it, but like I got a lot of messages a while back of like Like, you're going to be so appreciative of the rest you're getting right now, because when you really do get going, like, you're going to be going, and it's going to be like a lot. That's like a locomotive that you just can't stop. So enjoy the rest now. And I'm like, okay, just, if you could tell me what I'm going to be doing, that would help. I could definitely get some rest.
Right? Hey, I need to
Just
see
a
the
loose
future.
timeline.
Give me a clear picture of how and when everything is gonna work out. That's how I feel. It's like, man, it would be a whole lot easier if there was some notion of like how things are gonna unfold, but
We don't
we
get
don't
that.
get
I
that.
guess that's not the point, right?
Trust and adapt.
Oh, that back to that trust thing, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll be trying to trust, and letting. It's so hard to let go of the worry, though, especially because it's livelihood. I mean, for me anyways, the worry is, and for you too, it's livelihood, and as much as I want to be living in this, 4D and the 5D and all the, we have to continue to keep everything running in the 3D, and that means, a lot of things. And it's like timeline now, because it's like, we're extremely affected by this big beautiful bill thing, and hopefully things change by, I think it's like the end of 2026, and like, my husband is on medications that he really really needs, and we cannot afford, um with no health insurance, so it's but I do think that it's going to be better by that time. I have to, really. I mean, you know, what are the alternative is that it continues to go down, and or it's going to get better. And I believe that it's going to get better, because I don't
Awesome.
even want to see the other alternative.
Look, you have a birthday coming up in September. There's no telling what is gonna happen for that.
I know, right? Well, and it's like I said, I'll have to look up and tell you, but I this is supposed to be a really good year for me, and I have some kind of, I'll have to look it up again, but the return and something or other. So slime but everything and I do believe in astrology, because it's so crazy how accurate and spot on it is. So if they're telling me it's gonna be a good year this next year, I'm gonna believe them.
All good. It was good talking with you.
It's good talking to you too. Bye.
Bye.